Which brand has lost you as a customer? Jiffy Lube. Dudes punctured my oil filter when they changed it. Eventually ran out of oil like 2 weeks later and made me drag their ass through claims court to pay for repair. Edit, impromptu duck Jiffy Lube thread. Edit 2, man this company sucks. Edit 3, never mentioning Jiffy Lube on Reddit again. I struck a nerve. Edit 4, PLS stop commenting. Progressive. A lawnmower hit my parked car during work last year and it was terrible dealing with Progressive. The claims agent I got stopped communicating with me after a certain point and I ended up having to hound the lawnmowing company's owner to pay for my car's repairs. Expedia. God help you if they ever make a mistake on your booking. Their entire customer service infrastructure is designed to stonewall and frustrate you until you give up. Even when the problem is clearly their fault. Oh gosh yes. We had so many bookings with Expedia that weren't actually booked and you only know once you're there. That one time I pushed them and they did an upgrade for messing up, but seriously I'd much rather have my vacations go smoothly than get an upgrade. We actually lost a couple hours every time it happened, easily 3/4 times, and won't use Expedia anymore. DoorDash. After learning about the whole tipping situation. This article covers both of the reasons I canceled my account. The tipping model they had was skipping the drivers and going to the company. They instituted a new policy but drivers are reporting that nothing has changed. They also had a pretty significant data breach in May 4, 2019 and didn't disclose until September 26, 2019. CNET.com. I will never buy Campbell's Chunky Soup ever again. When that brand was started I was hooked. I loved everything they made. They had this one that had like small little burger patties in it. Ducking delicious. I ate at least one can a week. It was my go-to lunch as an unattached young adult male. Then they changed the recipe. Their meat turned to sheet. Every soup had a layer of grease on it. It was disgusting. I stopped buying their product and sent them an email about how they lost a lifelong customer. In their response back to me they apologized and gave me a gift to make up for it, a coupon to save 50 cents on a can of Campbell's soup. Is that what happened? I used to love chunky soups. Moved out of the country and eventually one store started selling them here. Was so happy to have my wife try it. It was garbage and I felt embarrassed for hyping it up so much. Bank of America. Their ATM was down so I had to go in and deposit my check. Paid all of my bills and had pretty much no money, this was during college. And they hit me with a $10 service fee which overdrew my account. And then they charged me a $35 overdraft fee. So, $45 I didn't have because their machine was down. The person I talked to on the phone was a complete big dick and I decided to get rid of my account right then and there. He then gave me an attitude about canceling. Duck that guy and duck Bank of America. Boa literally handed me a fake $100. And when I asked them to replace it with a real one they called the cops on me for trying to pass a fake bill. A fake bill they literally just handed me. The cops reviewed the footage and informed the teller and manager that they were at fault. The bank manager refused to acknowledge their mistake or apologize. So I closed my account. They had the nerve to try and retained me afterwards. Duck Boa. Edit, lots of feedback. I'll try to clear up what happened. I was about 20 years old when it happened. And very stupid about how things worked. At the time I was too thankful to be off the hook to think about anything else. The cop made the teller take the bill back. And as far as I know took off after. I didn't even think to call the news or sue. The whole thing gave me pretty bad anxiety. So I went home and tried to forget about it. Older me is mad that younger me didn't pursue anything. I hope that clears some things up. Thanks for all your kind comments. I didn't realize this was such a common thing. Facebook lost me a couple years ago. The way they treat their users and their data was upsetting to me. I could almost feel the fake experience they were trying to build. And I hated it. Their complete lack of care about privacy is someone I also disliked. And so I decided to avoid them. Edit, stop saying, you're not a customer, you're its product. It's a service. Provided by a company. That I used. Stopped using FB over 6 years ago. Best decision I made. I made sure to unfriend every person and delete every post so as not to have an excuse to go back. I still use WhatsApp and Instagram which when I joined weren't owned by FB. So I guess I'm still in the loop. Super dry because my friend and I were once at a snowboarding festival and they were giving out free stuff like snow goggles etc. But their reps wouldn't give anything to us because we didn't fit the look. Edit, I know I'm not entitled to anything. It wasn't about getting free stuff. It was the quite clear message of, you're not good enough. Might please you to know they filed for bankruptcy in Norway then. Victoria's Secret. In my 20s everything I owned was from VS. Over time I realized the quality was declining and the prices were absurd. I would have reactions to whatever they treated the fabric with and that was the last straw. I stopped buying from them. Edit, there's so many responses asking what I switched to. I like ThirdLove for bras. They have half sizes and as long as you don't remove the tag you can send back. I sent back 2 before I got my current fit. For underwear I like the boy shorts at Packed Apparel. I'm mindful of where my clothes come from and Packed was a choice I made a few years ago and am still happy with. You will have to be mindful of your washing cold water wash and tumble dry. I'm not in my 20s anymore so these things better suit my tastes and concerns. I have yoga pants in my closet nearly 10 years old from VS that are barely showing wear. Meanwhile the last 3 times I've been there I've worn my things out in less than a year. The quality has declined so much more than any other brand I've owned. Any brand that excessively advertises with 30-second unskippable ads has made me solemnly vow to never buy that product. Edit, thank you for the silvers. Edit, thank you for the platinum. I didn't expect this to blow up so much. Now let's hope some companies saw this. Also those awful, only 1% make it to level 10 ads, I absolutely hate those. Wells Fargo. They have annual scandals where they duck over their customers. I've refused several lower interest rate mortgages from them by telling my broker that they're pieces of shit and to exclude any offer they make, regardless of how attractive it is. Edit, I suggest that you freeze your credit with all 3 credit bureaus. Basically the dumb duck Wells Fargo workers will use your personal info to open accounts or credit cards or mortgage or whatever the duck their pathetic asses think will earn them extra commission. That way one of these dipshits will get denied and the only way they can open an unauthorized account is by calling you to request you remove your security freeze. Let them know that you'd be happy to do so once they come by your house and suck your big dick. Nestlé. As soon as I was old enough to realize what they do I hate them. Good luck avoiding everything they sell. It's more than just Nestle brand lol. Adobe. I never liked their subscription model and then when administering licenses. The keys themselves end up being corrupted and then you have to go through a tedious process to have them all corrected again. Sub-models on popular software always suck. Edit, rip inbox. And thanks for the gold. So a lot of people were wondering about alternatives. I saw that a lot mentioned Affinity, which is a preferred program to use in place of Photoshop and Illustrator. So here's a list of the programs that you can use instead of Adobe. Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Affinity Suite. Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, Blackmagicdesign.com. Adobe Audition, Ableton Live. Adobe Reader, Acrobat, Foxit Reader or Nuance Power PDF. Spectrum. Worst customer service with a constant rising bill. Unfortunately some areas, like mine, are between that or AT&T 100 Mbps versus 10 Mbps only. Sprint. Recovering from surgery. Sedated in a hospital. Over 8 years ago. I had a pre-smartphone and no data plan. Accidentally pushed some sort of internet button that literally brought up Sprint's homepage. When the $450 bill arrived they refused to budge. I was within the 45-day cancel for full refund stage. This was a 2-year contract for my family of 6. I returned the phones and canceled the agreement but they refused to waive the internet charge. After talking on the phone with an escalation call center for over 4 hours I agreed to pay but vowed they would never see another penny from me. One of a very small number of companies with a lifetime blacklist. I've paid my replacement carrier nearly $20,000 in the meantime. If Sprint ever merges with my carrier, they've tried a few times now. I will leave. If I go to a prepaid network, I will research to make sure whatever I use is not a rented Sprint network. Not 1 penny. And I tell this story to anyone that will listen. I went in a Sprint store to cancel my family plan. My husband ported his number but I didn't as I wanted a new number on Verizon. I got a bill the next month. They didn't cancel my phone plan. When I called and complained, they said I had no proof that I went and asked for it to be canceled in the store. I talked to so many people and eventually someone accepted the fact that I hadn't used 1 minute of talk or data in the past month and that my husband's line was canceled as an acceptable answer. They still made me pay like $25 and said they couldn't retroactively cancel my line but could make it inactive or something stupid that cost the fee. So annoying and dishonest. Bank of America. Finally quit them after being nickel and dimed, continuous $12 to $35 fees for 20 years. Much happier with a financial institute that is both cheaper for me and ethically less shady. American Airlines. The explanation has been delayed for tomorrow or next year IDK or ducking care. Doug Parker has been the worst thing to ever happen to AA. I live in Dallas and I'm executive platinum with them and still get treated like shit. They keep retrofitting their aircraft to add more seats and less room and still have the nerve to tell us consumers that it's what we want. Their metrics are the worst in the industry. Parker will hopefully be tired Q1 next year when they miss their number horribly. Tim Hortons. It is so ducking gross now. Stale donuts, nasty coffee and stupid menu ad changes every couple months. I am not kidding. They literally have a hot dog breakfast sandwich. They need to go back to the menu like 15 years ago. I know they're bought out by the Burger King company and start making things in-house again. They jumped on the Beyond Meat burger trend a couple months ago. But why would you buy a burger at Tim Hortons of all places when you could go to a burger place to get one fresh? They jump on a vegan, veg meat trend but blatantly ignore people asking for dairy-free options on social media. Or they tell them to ask for it at their local location, which goes nowhere. Of course they try to blame millennials. But I think every generation is sick of the shitty quality now. Basically them being bought out ruined them. Edit. I'm happy so many Canadians agree and are speaking the truth. We know what we like. And shitty coffee and forced representations, isn't it? Edit 2. Tim Horton reps. Stop downvoting the honest answers. Ya done ducked up. Accept your fate, you hoser. This is a joke on the obvious Canadian importance. Edit 3. Let me say this once, grilled cheese. But they put cheese on the outside of the sandwich? I wish I was joking. And wow, calm down. Who knew calling out Tim Hortons would result in so much anger? Edit 4. Apparently edits are cancer in the Reddit community. But some of the PMs I received in regards to working for Tim Hortons and the terrible job experiences are pretty astounding. It's disheartening to hear it's just not about the quality of products. Panera Bread. Almost $50 for a couple of small sandwiches and some soup. Most of the food is good. But not for that price. Exxon still hasn't cleaned up Alaska after the oil spill. 30 years later. Edit. I have learned a few things from this post. It doesn't change how I feel about Exxon, though. Levi's. Since they went public, the quality has dropped considerably. Wells Fargo. Our first mortgage was through them. After a couple years I get a call on the 2nd of the month telling me my mortgage was due. I told them I had until the 15th. They told me that was a grace period and their investors preferred I pay on the 1st. I told them I would make sure I never paid it before the 15th ever again and their investors could eat a bag of big digs. We paid the mortgage at 4:30 in the afternoon on the 15th or closest prior weekday for the next 5 years at the local branch, which was a half-mile from the house. Good times. I dropped them after the whole thing where they got caught signing members up for services they didn't want directed by their higher-ups and then fired a bunch of low-level tellers and bankers to compensate. Duck that bank. USAA forever. They lost I pulled my family's checking. Part of our savings and one of our auto loans. I'm sure they don't care, but I feel better about the situation. Edited for clarity.